nice to be here.
This is great.
On a
This
nice,
is very cool.
warm day in the winter, relatively warm for us here. David, thanks for doing this today.
Thank you.
Everyone's excited to have you here. This is David Lauren, Executive Vice President and Board Member of Ralph Lauren. You run advertising, marketing, branding, communications, a bunch of other things that we probably can't get into, right? You work with your father, which many people aspire to do. It's probably a mixed bag sometimes, I guess. I wanted to start by asking you a broad question about the Ralph Lauren brand. And, it's a brand that is defined in some ways by tradition, by heritage, by things that could even be nostalgic, right? And yet you operate in a very modern world, and you have to keep that brand relevant, right? And current and engaging. And so I'm curious, it seems like it's a puzzle to try to solve, how you are true to both sides of that. How do you approach that challenge of being, current and yet true to this sort of aesthetic that the brand has been wrapped around?
Okay, good question.
Is that a hard start?
Well, that is what we do, and it's a good question. Every day we wrestle with trying to be new, trying to be innovative, but also making sure that we stay true to what we love, what the brand is about, and what Ralph Lauren started at. What he set out to do is to create a dream of the world he wanted to live in. And that dream has evolved, and it's been told over 50 years in many different stories. And our job is to help him tell that story and to keep it modern, to keep it fresh. But in the end of the day, it is always this balance between things that are soulful and homey and things that are part of the life you want to live, adventures you want to go on, and making sure that you're not too fashion forward or too lost in the trends, because we always say that if you're too in fashion, you'll soon be out of fashion. So we want to have that balance, and I think we've been able to manage it pretty well for about 50 years.
Yeah, you're doing okay. You're doing okay. Does technology make it easier in this task? In some ways it does, or is it a challenge?
I love technology, and one of the things that Ralph Lauren set about doing was telling stories. When he first started designing clothes, it wasn't just about a shirt or a tie. Those products were entree into a world that he believed in and that we all aspire to. And he told those stories by creating stores or by multi-page advertisements in magazines. The internet, new media, social media, all the technology that exists today is just another way to tell those stories in new ways. It's a medium that is richer. It's more cinematic. It allows you to be groundbreaking as you explore it. And we've just loved bringing the brand to life in new ways. And I'd say, basically for 10 years now or 15 years, we have been pushing the boundaries with technology and having fun. But ultimately, a brand that does it well is a brand that stays true to who they are and uses the medium as just a way to bring that to life, not reinvent yourself.
So if I want to keep up with the Ralph Lauren story, right? Am I best off doing that by going to Ralph Lauren stores, by going to ralphlauren.com, by following you on Instagram? Like, what's the place? Or is it all of those places? And how do you think about how they interact?
Well, you're welcome to come to all of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
They're all important. What we try to do is tell a story that really envelops a customer in any way that they want to be touched. Some people love to walk through a store, and they love the interaction with people, and they love sitting on a beautiful old couch and looking at the mahogany and the chandeliers. And what we put into a store is creating more than a store. It's a club. It's an environment. It's a world that you're walking into. And we're creating a dream that way. Some people, love the internet, and that's amazing, and that's just another way to touch you. The goal is to find some consistency and some freshness in each channel.
To have each one of them satisfying in that way. So it's Fashion Week. You had a show, a presentation last week. You have a show tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So what is the role of these shows in this story that you're telling, or this series of stories?
Well, it really starts with, for us, it helps you to hone your vision. When you have the pressure of a show coming up, you really have a deadline. You have to make sure that you have a story that it's clear, that all the right fabrics and products have come in from around the world, and you're creating a brand or a new statement for that brand with a lot of pressure. Now, who comes to a show? And people always look at the runways and they see all the celebrities. For us, it's really about talking to our own company, inspiring ourselves. It's about talking to people who are buying the product, to the customers, and to the people who buy it for stores. And it's really about the press and people wanting to know what the fashion messages are going to be over the next year. So there are a number of constituents paying attention to it, and they're coming in from China. They're coming in from Russia, they're coming in from Brazil, they're coming in from all around the world, and that's been amazing for us because you're bringing out a show and you're hoping that you're going to speak to people in all different kinds of weather conditions, in all parts of the world with different kinds of political conditions, and you want to make sure that you're saying something that's reverberating.
The show you guys did in the fall here in New York, you did a show with sort of a spectacular 4D presentation in Central Park. I'm curious where that came from, and like, are we going to see anything like that tomorrow? It's a different thing when it's the winter time.
We did a 4D holographic fashion show, which was projected on water in Central Park.
It was amazing.
Yeah, we woke up one morning and said, wouldn't that be cool? And then we figured out how to build it. We really wanted to do something that felt big, that people would remember. And we were introducing a new brand called Polo for women. And we thought we wanted to do something that felt fashion forward so you could feel the fashion, but also celebrated the fact that this brand, Polo for women, had an urbanness that was inspired by New York City and this culture where we create the products. And so it was...
So it's a slightly different story than some of the other brands have.
Yes, and it has a very contemporary sensibility. So we thought, wouldn't it be amazing to just bring all these people into the park at 10 o'clock at night and literally light up the park and have these models that are 4 stories or 5 stories tall walking across the water. And it was quite a spectacular moment for us. And
I'm just curious, when this idea comes up and you sort of present it or talk about it, are there people in the room who say, like, you're crazy, you can't do that?
Absolutely. I think everybody likes to do that. And it always starts with a lot of ideas that are out of the box, that you just say, wouldn't it be cool to do this? Wouldn't it be cool to do that? And then things just happen. We had this whole sequence in there where this lighthouse was popping up out of the water, and it was moving alongside of the Brooklyn Bridge. And everybody was like, but there's no lighthouse. And randomly, like sometime that week, we were just popping around on Instagram looking for inspirational shots of the city, and we found a lighthouse next to a bridge in New York, and we're like, it actually exists. So sometimes you dream things and they become real, and we had a lot of experiences like that.
I was looking at your Instagram earlier today, and you were at Downton Abbey with your family. It looked like its own dream.
It was amazing. So Downton Abbey is a show that we get tremendous pleasure watching. I think so many people around the world enjoy it. And it is filmed in this great sort of period in England that is just so stylish. And it's always inspired the clothing that we create. So we actually sponsor the show now on PBS and proud to support it. But then we had this amazing opportunity to go visit the home and have a private dinner there. And we dressed up in ties and tails.
You guys looked like you belonged, yeah.
We really played out the parts, and it was just for us a lot of fun. And then it was sort of tempted, do I Instagram this? I'm not so sure if that's a good idea. And then we said, all right, let's just do it because, people would love this opportunity to see, what it's like to actually be at Downton Abbey. And it was too amazing not to share it, and hence the brilliance of Instagram. I don't share a lot of things, but sometimes something like that was like, that's a moment. And it was beautiful.
I mean, it can be hard. There is a lot of sharing of people's personal lives and personal things, and some brands and some celebrities share a ton of stuff. How do you decide sort of which things you're going to share, which things is appropriate for Ralph Lauren to share, for the brand to share?
It's difficult. We've really been able to create a beautiful facade to the company and create an amazing images and ads, and everybody always wants to go behind the scenes and see all this. And it's tempting for us to unveil sort of what goes into it. But the dream is sometimes better or something we can create, and you don't want to lose that specialness. For us, we're also very private as a family and as a company. and we like to protect people's privacy.
So if I were backstage tomorrow during the show, it would look different than what it looks like out on the stage?
Well, we do some backstage at the fashion show because it is exciting experiences. The truth is sometimes we take for granted what's exciting. You know, for us it's work. To other people it's really glamorous and exciting backstage, and so it's great to tune in on Instagram and Facebook and see, you know, all the excitement. But you know, we want to make sure that you don't want to be overexposed and you want to create this dream. And I think for us, it's just finding a nice balance and doing what we think is beautiful and not hitting people over the head. It's got to have a soul.
When the show is over tomorrow, is there some metric or some, like, how do you decide whether it was successful or it wasn't? Or is that in
I'll call you. Yeah. That has to be a personal thing. You know, like any artist or company that's creating what is very personal to them, the ultimate mark of success is how we feel about it, and we have to be good barometers of what the public will think. Sometimes the public doesn't respond to a show or to a store, but you have to believe in it and hope that they'll get there and you tweak it and get it right. But it's personal, and we've had a good gut, and Ralph Lauren has an amazing gut, and you know, you just got to trust that gut. And you know, there's no focus group, there's no panel, there's no buyer or press person that can affect that. You have to have a strong vision for yourself in order to make it.
Now, are you a designer? Do you design clothing? Do you get involved in the product?
I do get involved, and I love working with the team, and we have an incredibly creative team that works on, we get to work on tons of products and projects, but you know, I have my hands in enough stuff.
No, but I think it must be interesting to sort of, you're creating a show around a product that is, in some ways you may have an idea for the show and the product may be sort of slightly different in how to get all those things to align.
Well, you know, the product is central to what we do, but bigger than the story, bigger than the fashion is the story. It's the concept, and what we do is we're creating a movie, and in doing that, we're saying we're going to take you on an adventure. This season, the women's collection takes you on an adventure to Morocco. Other seasons will go on a safari. Sometimes it's right here in New York City. Sometimes it's a technology adventure. And what we do is we tell that story through our clothing. We tell it through 25 different brands under the Ralph Lauren umbrella. We tell that story through our stores, through our ads, through all kinds of different experiences. And so the clothes are just one piece of the total adventure. So I feel there's so many ways to have a creative expression at Ralph Lauren.
I do love the way you talk about how all the pieces fit together. I think it's great. David is open to taking some questions from you guys, so start thinking about what questions you might want to ask him. I'll ask him one or two more things, and then it gets to be your turn, okay? Sports. You do a lot of, you're a big presence at the US Open. You do clothing for the Olympic team. What's the motivation behind that? How does that fit into the stories?
Well, we love sports, and it's such a fun thing to watch and to be a part of. There's also the sense that the company was originally called Polo, Ralph Lauren, and Polo is about sportsmanship and style on and off the field. And so it's one thing to dress people who are walking through the world and walking down the streets outside this building, and it's also about the real life, the professionalism and the sportsmanship that happens on the field. So to dress an Olympic athlete at the Olympics is amazing. To see those athletes operating and living in the real world, wearing our clothes, putting on a suit is also amazing. So we try to do both sides, and that's exciting. And we've really, you know, stayed very involved with golf and tennis and a myriad of different sports.
Is there a Polo Sport is being launched, right? Yes. What is? Tell us.
So we are relaunching or bringing back a brand called Polo Sport, which really was ahead of its time in the 80s and 90s. And now that there's been this sort of revival of sports, and we've had our hands in it with the Olympics and the US Open and Wimbledon, we thought it was time to redevelop this brand and really to take an ownership on this market and do something that was new and fresh and reinvent it in a cool way. So Polo Sport will be launched in the fall, and we think it's a very exciting extension of what we love.
All right, you guys have some questions? Who has questions? Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question. So Ralph Lauren is a predominantly New York-centric and based company, yet the clothes that you make, especially for the Olympic team, is like very Americana. And how do you think that being based in New York and rooted in New York has kind of shaped how you define, like what American clothes look like, or how that plays into like the larger national?
Well, we're very proud to be an American company, and to be based here in New York is amazing. In many ways, while we take so much inspiration from the world that we live in, the company is truly now a global company. And we are so proud to open stores all around the world, because what they're buying is Ralph Lauren product, but what it is symbolic of their love of America. So we are, in fact, sort of tastemakers or ambassadors of American style. So when you are in Russia, and I've been there, they walk in the store and they're not buying, they're buying a piece of America. They're like, I love America. I love blue jeans. And what Ralph Lauren has done is celebrated a lot of the great iconography of our country. And it's an amazing feeling to go there and be greeted by an ambassador to Japan who says, thank you for coming and for reminding people what's so great about America. And this is an American ambassador standing in Japan. And then to see the Japanese, how much they love America. They love America. And so we've been very fortunate that way to be a representative for our country and to try to create product that celebrates what we do. And we love the homages to different parts of our country and to some of the great parts of of our culture.
Another question? Yeah?
Hi, thanks for being here, David. I have a question. So you have global reach now, and your brand is still really strong. What are some of the bigger mistakes that you've learned from or have regrets about?
Well, every day there's a challenge. There's a million things that go on in our company. So, we're learning every day. The truth is, sometimes the things that are the most difficult are the things that are seemingly small to you. It's managing people. It's finding great talent. It's keeping people happy in a company, creating a culture that lasts and that can be clear to people 50 years on. That's a real challenge, and I think we've tried to expand into different countries, and you have to make sure that people understand your language and understand what your philosophy is. For us, the harder thing is not it's not always about a single product. It's about creating a culture. People understand what your identity is.
Thank you. All right, next one.
Hi. My male family members are a huge fan of your brand. My question is, do you find it more difficult, does Ralph Lauren as a brand find it more difficult to come up with brand strategy targeting women as compared to targeting men?
Not really. I think, the thing about being in a company that's so creative and that you're constantly growing and learning is hopefully, if you're good, you're finding ways to develop talent and make sure that their ideas are heard. And there are so many creative people at Ralph Lauren. And we're in touch with the customers. We hear people. So when people like a product or don't like a product, if they like a store or they don't like a store, we're inventorying it. Not necessarily through a focus group, but just being in a panel like this, talking to people, we hear what works. And hopefully we can do our best to learn and to constantly grow it. We have amazing women in the company. President of our company is a woman, and she's fantastic, and she is very connected to what women want. And so many people across our company are women, and they understand it. So our women's business has really been growing, and it stays at the cutting edge of being fashion forward. And menswear, the same thing, making sure that we understand what men want. Men's fashion doesn't change as dramatically as women's, but you do have to have your finger on the pulse. But we love what we do. We love style, we love clothes, we love environments and stores and the culture that we create. And so it is a natural expression and extension of Ralph Lauren and everybody that works in the company. So you're walking through a company in any company that you work in, if you love what you do, it just keeps building, and it's like a snowball effect. By the end of the day, a simple idea could have turned into, into a gigantic project, and you never know where it's going to come from.
David, you a couple of times in those answers you mentioned the creativity and the culture, and at a lot of businesses, as they get bigger, maintaining a culture that is creative gets harder and harder. As you guys have gotten bigger, have you felt that tug? Is it harder to stay creative as the business gets bigger?
It's not hard to stay creative. It is hard to stay focused. And I think what happens is we have a million ideas, and how to prioritize those ideas, how to make sure that an idea can be executed before the next great idea comes. Those are challenges, and you see that with a lot of companies, being streamlined, being organized, making sure that a good idea can be executed. What happens with us now is we develop a brand called Denim & Supply. It's an amazing brand, and you want to nurture that, but at the same time, you have to focus on Polo, and you have to focus on women's collection. We have a Polo fashion show last week where we launched women's brand a year ago, and we have to keep building men's purple label. So these are exciting challenges, but you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta, keep your eye on the ball.
Is there another question? Yes.
Hi. Wearable technology is booming right now. I know you have the Polo Tech shirt. So where do you see that, or how do you see that technology evolving in terms of Polo as well as fashion in general and in stores?
Well, we're really having.
Are you wearing anything
I'm
now?
Not today.
Are you wired?
I'm wearing a watch.
Okay.
But it's not wired with anything too techy. In fact, it's handmade, which is sort of the opposite. So that's something that we love as well. We did develop a technology shirt, which we unveiled at the U.S. Open this past U.S. Open, where athletes could run up and down the court in a shirt where we could measure their biorhythms, their heartbeat, their breathing, their stress levels. And it got a tremendous amount of press and feedback. So we're going to be unveiling those as part of our Polo Sport launch this coming summer into the fall, and we're very excited about it. We did just unveil a bag, which is a more expensive product. It's called a Ricky bag, and it's a luxury bag. And this is an accessory where you can you open it and there's a light inside, kind of like a glove compartment from a car. It started really, there was a woman in one of our meetings who was looking for her phone and her bag, and it was too dark in the room and she couldn't find anything, and she was really in a rush and anxious about having lost something. And so we were like, why don't we just install a light in there and you could find everything? And it became a laugh, and then it was kind of like, that's not a bad idea, it would be nice to have. And then we developed it and started selling it around holiday, but it also comes with a phone jack to charge your phone. And it's kind of amazing. So technology is great, and we're going to keep working with new ideas, but finding technology that is applicable to your life. If it's too random or just out there, something you don't really need, that's fine. We don't want to go that direction. We want to do things that we think come from common sense issues, things that we're like, this would be cool. We created a Create Your Own Polo program before anyone was doing customization and personalization in the apparel business. And it started out of a customer looking for a shirt, and they wanted to get it in multiple colors, so we created the technology to make that possible online because a customer needed it. Now it's commonplace. So things sometimes start off as, why do I need it? And then they become part of your life and the way you live.
I mean, it can, gadgets and sensors and things, people can say, oh, that's cool, but it doesn't necessarily serve a function, right? That's the challenge, I guess, is to have it serve a function that's useful. Do you think wearable clothing, having technology in clothing will be something that is more prevalent 5 and 10 and 15 years from now, that everyone's going to be wired in some way? Or?
Well, it depends what each person wants it for. To one person, it's a great idea, and to someone else, I don't need it, just like anything that they shop. I think that technology in clothing is fantastic. I think the idea that someone that I could monitor my biorhythms in order to live a happier and healthier and better life is amazing. On another day, I want to throw on a flannel shirt and drive a tractor, and I don't want to think about technology. I just want to have a quiet life with a dog walking in a field. But for those days where I would like to get in better shape and I want to know how my health is, It was interesting. We were in a meeting on this technology shirt, and it's called Polo Tech. And someone in the office said, I was short of breath the other day, and I was walking down the street, and I was very nervous. Could the shirt help me? How could my doctor get the information to tell me if I was sick in the street? I said, well, actually, the way it would work is that you would enter your doctor's name or your wife's name into your app, and they'd be able to tell you if your basic biorhythms were working. If you were having a heart attack, or if your child was wearing the shirt and they had a breathing problem at home, or they were sick, and this would be a really functional, useful shirt to help you feel more confident about the life you're living, that you didn't overexert yourself, that you're actually going to be able to make it through the day feeling calm. So he was very excited about owning a shirt like this. Someone else is like, it's too complicated for me.
It reminds me a little, I don't know if you've used any of the Nest products for the connected home, right? But your smoke detector can talk to you from wherever and tell you if the air is good in your house or not, right? And what you're talking about is basically your clothing talking to you or talking to others and letting them know how you're doing and if there are any warning things.
It's fascinating. You can follow somebody's breathing. You can see their heartbeat. You can see their basic biorhythms, their stress levels. It's fantastic, and I think, used the right way. Our goal is to get there early, to experiment, to try new things, and to make people think differently about clothing. And we're the first luxury fashion brand to really push the boundaries with wearable technology clothing. And just like everybody's wearing the Fitbit and all the kinds of cool bracelets, we'll see where it goes. But it's fun and it's exciting and it's a new era where we're just at the beginning of a new day. And in 5 years we'll look back and the world will have different needs and different information, but we will have been part of pushing the boundaries.
So since you have this show tomorrow, if you were wearing one of those things, what would it be saying about your stress level right now?
We're all pretty stressed because there's so much to do, and you want to have success, and you want to do what you do as well as you can. Our goal is to produce the best quality products in the world, make people love the product, and we want to make sure that we love them. And we've created a wonderful brand and a wonderful world that we're excited about, and we want to make sure to keep it going and be attentive to every detail. It takes a lot of love.
Did we have other questions? Oh, yeah.
Hi, hello, David. My name is Gordon. I have 2 questions. I come from Hong Kong, and Polo Ralph Lauren has such a huge presence there and in Asia. I was wondering, what do you think is the future for fashion and for Ralph Lauren in China and Asia? And the second question is, as a design student in NYU Tisch, what advice do you have for aspirational designers today? Thank you.
Good questions. Well, the first question about expanding in China, that's it's been really exciting for us. We've just begun to open some stores in China in the last few years. We opened our first men's store 2 years ago, and then a kind of a flagship in Hong Kong just this past year. And it's very exciting to see a new customer, to see a new culture respond to what we're doing. So it's very cool, and we're actually going there in a few weeks to meet some more people and to learn about the best way to work with the Chinese. The question about advice for fashion students and people in design school or wanting to be in our industry, I didn't go to fashion school, and neither did Ralph Lauren, and neither did a lot of people in our company. It's a wonderful thing to go to fashion school because you really learn about you develop expertise. But what I would say is, whether you have gone or you haven't, it's very important to have a vision for what you love. What we do is we are consumers. Ralph Lauren is the ultimate consumer. He loves the product. He lives with it. He's constantly, it's a natural expression of who he is. And he has a vision. And if you have a vision and you have the passion to bring that to life in whatever industry you're in, I truly believe that you will succeed and you will do well. But you have to make sure that you have the combination of a vision and passion.
We have time for one more question.
All right, one more question. Who has one?
Hi, I'm Alicia Greenberg with the Advertising Club of New York. And our members are agency marketing and media executives. So if I was going to back to them and tell them what you had to share with those particular groups on, one, what you see as the most challenging thing as a marketing retail brand in the year to come, and what you think are the things that you're most excited about as a brand marketing in that competitive arena.
That's a very big question. The truth is, we go to work every day as familiar a brand as we are. We're really working on the details, just trying to get through each day, making sure that we have a clear message and that everybody is marching to the same drum and that we're moving in a way that enhances our brand and that we get better every day. I'd say that the biggest challenges we have, or the biggest advice, is to have a vision. Honestly, every day we remind ourselves who we are, and you have to step back and say, "Do we do that well? Did this product resonate with you? Did this ad speak to you?" Ralph Lauren walks in, he sits down in the meeting, and he says, "What'd you think of the collection?" And everybody's like, "Oh my God, did you just ask me what I thought? Do I tell him what I liked or what I didn't?" He wants really honest feedback. He wants to make sure that it's resonating. Do you like the ad? And we'll say, "Yeah, it's beautiful, it's beautiful." Do you want to buy the product? Do you want to be in this world? Does it speak to you? Are you inspired? Are you excited? Did we pull the right heartstrings? Is it feel real? What did we do wrong? And we go down things all the time because we're just people, and we are really just lovers of great product. And like anybody here, you want to create great product, and you don't always hit it right. We make millions of product, and we know when we miss it, and then we strive to get better. And sometimes those challenges force us to get better. And there's been so many concepts, like when we did Polo Sport originally, there were reasons we stopped it. People felt that it wasn't quite what it could be. And so if we couldn't do that, maybe we'll try something different, focus our energies there. Now we have a clear vision of where we want to go with it. Took 10 years, focused on other ideas, went to China, tried different things. Now we want to rebuild that and make sure we have a mastery and an expertise and that there's a clear message. So the goal ultimately is to love what you do and have a passion, be humble about it if you can, and work hard. I got to tell you, Ralph Lauren last night, he was working till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. These shows are stressful. There is no easy road. There is no, you don't walk through a day and think you're just going to ride on your own laurels. Fashion, you have to stay current, you have to stay fresh, you have to make sure that you have a vision and that you're building on something that is exciting and that is personal. And we work very hard. I mean, this is the challenges come at you every second, and we're excited. Every time the product hits the floor and the customer walks in, we sit back and we go, "Oh my God, can you believe they're buying it? They're so excited. This is great." We're like kids in a candy store, and when we miss it, we're like, "Okay, how do we make it better? Let's get it right next season. It's gonna be perfect." And hopefully we keep doing it. 50 years on, we've had a pretty good track record, but it's a lot of love and a lot of hard work.
Well, David, thank you. As usual, your passion for all of this shows through, and your optimism about how you can solve the problems. You make it sound easy, but creating that vision is not easy for everybody. So we really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for your questions, and thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.